Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is video 6 in the series of Successful Living. We are in the book of Nehemiah, and last week I gave a brief history of what was going on at the time of Nehemiah, that Nehemiah grew up in exile, in captivity. He did not grow up in his homeland, and when he heard about what was going on, he just wept and wept and reached out to God. And where we kind of left off last week was that Nehemiah acknowledged the fact of where the Israelites went wrong, of where they had sinned and rejected God's truth, rejected God's ordinances, rejected God's statutes. I'm going to pick up right there, and Nehemiah is saying, we've acted very corruptly against you. But he's saying, we have not kept your commandments. Please remember, Nehemiah is asking God, please remember the word which you commanded your servant Moses, saying, if you are unfaithful and violate your obligations to me, I will scatter you abroad, which what God did. They were in exile for 70 years. But if you return to me and keep my commandments and do them, though those of you who have been scattered in the most remote parts of the heavens, I will gather you from there and will bring you to the place where I have chosen for my name to dwell. Now they are your servants and your people whom you have redeemed by your great power and by your strong hand. Please, O Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant and the prayer of your servants who delight and fear your name. All right, let's just discuss this a little bit. So the Israelites messed up, and as God promised, God scattered them. But Nehemiah is reaching out to God, and he's saying, please hear us. And what I want you to know is that when we know truth, or let's take a really simple statute. Let's take a really simple basic truth, okay? If there is a road and you're on one side and you want to get to the other, you have to look both ways before you cross the road. If you do not look both ways, there is a risk that you may be hit by a car. And this is, right, if we don't look. Now, you might cross that road 100 times and never be hit by a car, but that one time that you're not looking, there might be a car coming and you might be hit. This is what I would call as like a basic, simple truth. And this is what God gives us. God gives us ordinances, or he gave us the 10 commandments. And they are not to hurt us. They are not to control us. They are to give us life and keep us well and healthy. For example, don't lie is one of the commandments. So why does God say that? Well, have you ever been lied to? Here we go. Simba wants to say hello. Have you ever been lied to? And it's not a good feeling. There's a feeling of betrayal or disappointment or anger. So these statutes and ordinances that God gives us, it's not to make us unhappy. It's to keep us healthy. It's to draw healthy boundaries. So these are the statutes of God, and they are life-giving. And this is what Israel turned away from. And this is why they ended up scattered abroad, because they were corrupt, and they turned their backs against God. Anyway, so back to the story here. Nehemiah is still in this prayer, and let's see if we can quickly cover this. So he's been crying and praying for days, fasting and bringing this complaint to God. So, and he was the cupbearer, and his work is being in front of the king. So, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was placed before him, I took the wine and I gave it to the king. Now I had not ever been sad in the presence of the king. So the king said to me, "Why do you look sad when you were not sick? This is nothing. This is nothing but sadness of heart. Like, you're not sick. Why are you looking like that?" And he goes, "You're just sad of heart." So Nehemiah was frightened because he was the king. Who knows what the king is going to do? And I said to the king, "Let the king live forever. Why should my face not be sad when the city, the place of my father's tombs, lies desolate and its gates have been consumed by fire?" And the king said, listen to this, "What do you want? What do you request?" So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said to the king, "If it pleases the king, and your servant has found favor in your presence, I ask that you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's tombs, so that I may rebuild it." So bam, Nehemiah's been praying, asking God to hear, asking God to see. And what happens? The king notices him, and the king says, "What do you want?" And Nehemiah presents his request to the king. So we all find ourselves in these scenarios where we are hurting, where there is something so deep and heavy on our heart that we carry it. And we are asking God, "God, please hear my cry. God, please see my situation." And God does. And why is this relating to successful living? Is because we all go through those dark times. We all go through the valleys. We all have obstacles that come across our path before we get to the place, or really along the journey that God has called us to.